I have worked with multiple startups at Digital Boost. Typical challenges that I've heard from most of you is around financial constraints, market competition, talent acquisition, and digital transformation. So that's why the theme of this presentation today is going to help you generate revenue to address those financial constraints and competition. And we're going to take an approach of scoping, really focusing on the key things that matter so that you generate more revenue and you're able to raise funds and really close those deals that you've been seeking. Most of this content is going to be try to keep it generic, but some of it is more applicable to B2B as compared to B2C. If you have questions specific to your business, keep them noted, and we will try to discuss case by case so that others can also learn from your problems, and if there are any insights we can gather from the group as well. Today, we'll talk about setting up a robust sales strategy. How do you build relationships with your clients? And finally, I have a list of like free tools, templates. I'll try to send that to everyone who has joined so that you can use them to kind of build your brand image, and I hope that helps you. So what does it take to build an effective sales strategy? The most important thing that I've learned is that you need to stay focused on three important factors. The first is the customer who you're selling it to, the market that you're targeting, and finally the product that you're offering. If you try to do too many things without following through, like if you just start and try to be a master of like all trades, you end up being none, and it can lead to losing deals. The only way to win a deal is to close it, and everything else is just talk. So my mantra to SMEs is that, pick up one strategy, stick to it, follow it end to end, and get your coffee. Coffee is for closers. Like if you close a deal, that's the only way you're winning. And that's why staying focused and staying scoped and narrowing down your work and your energy, using your energy effectively is really important. So how do we do that? First of all, the first misconception that a lot of us grew up believing is that anyone can be my customer. I want to call out that not everyone is your customer. In fact, even if it's tempting to try and sell your product to anyone who would listen, this can actually do you more harm than good. What you need to do is focus on identifying your ideal customer, like profile your customer and focus on, just addressing their main pain points. We're going to talk a bit about how do you do that? How do you identify who your ideal customer is and how do you create their persona? So there are three stages to doing so. The first one is building an ideal customer profile. What you need to do is pick up a person, like the person who you think is the easiest to sell your service or your product to. Think of their behaviors, think of their attitudes, think of their demographics, their geographic attributes. How do they think? What do they feel? Where do they usually hang out? Are they doing more online searches, or are they going to stores and reading pamphlets? This sort of profiling will help you target and tailor your sales approach to their specific needs, their preferences, and kind of like solve the problems that they are really facing. For instance, I helped a startup which was kind of like building homegrown systems to grow organic plants. So it's like hydroponic systems to grow plants at home. And they had like two different types of customer profiles in mind. One was this farmer who is currently using farmlands to grow their organic fruit and like selling it in the market, and instead have move them to home and like they can do it at home. And the other profile was health freak millennial, someone who's like going to the gym and like eating organic food, buying grocery from like expensive stores just to make sure that everything that they get is authentic. So these two profiles, you need to like understand what kind of people would be interested in buying. And once you have that, you make a pick. So we kind of incline towards the health freak millennial because those guys are less sensitive to cost. They are more convenience focused, and the product offering, which was like a small system where you could grow your own vegetables and plant and fruits, was also like super expensive and hence not affordable by a regular farmer. That's why this profiling, this understanding, and how sensitive they are to cost, like really helps. Um, then the second step is customer journey mapping. We'll talk about it in the next slide, but just as a highlight, once you identify a customer, just go through their regular journey. Like if they're trying to get something to be done, how are they doing it today with or without your product? Like if your product did not exist in the market, what would they do today to achieve it? And in during this entire journey, what are the pain points or problems that they face at different stages? Once you map their complete journey, you identify those pain points and you pick up one pain point and you really focus on this customer to identify, to like address their specific pain point. It's a lot of words and it might feel a bit cumbersome, but I'll show you a slide on how you can do that effectively. So we'll work through an example. So for example, this is the journey of a user who's going from the awareness stage to consideration stage. They're thinking about it, they're making a decision, they're realizing its value, and then they're retaining on your product or service. At each stage, you need to understand what's the cognitive state. Like, are they exploring? Are they comparing? Are they thinking about purchasing? And then they're realizing the value. And then finally, they are addressing the challenges when they're using your product. Think about the emotions. Like it's really important to do this research beforehand so you don't learn after spending money on marketing, after spending money on building a sales strategy. So that's why keep this research handy so that you completely understand who you're selling your services or product to and what is the pain point that you're solving. They might have multiple pain points, you might have multiple customers, but we'll pick one, like we'll try to choose and pick our battles and not try to sell everything to everyone. From these emotions, you think about the opportunities, like, am I able to offer them value up front during this awareness stage? When they're considering, can I showcase them my product? During the decision, what are the things they'll be thinking about? Maybe the ROI comparison, the cost comparison, maybe just how good my customer service is. When realizing my value, I can communicate them the deployment milestones, like, hey, if you have this today, tomorrow I'll offer this bigger bundle, you'll have more services in hand. And then for retention, like, am I getting their feedback actively? So what are the opportunities to improve their existing emotion, their existing experience? You list that out. Think about the barriers, like, okay, during awareness, they don't know what to search for. And if they search, they just, instead of me, they find someone else, they find my competitor. So those are the barriers for me to enter or really sell it to them. My content might lack quality. Like all of these are examples, of course, it'll be different for your specific service. And we can even take examples and walk through the journey of one or two startups here. Pricing, taking too long to realize the wins that I'm getting from the product, and retention, feature roadmaps are not aligned to the goals that the customer has. You think about the touch points, like everything that they go through when they are at this specific stage. So during awareness, they might go on your website, on landing pages, on your social media, your blogs. During consideration, they'll go and look at community, they'll look at review websites, so on and so forth. Think about the marketing, like if you have a marketing team, like think about the teams that will be responsible for each of these stages. This step is optional. And most importantly, think about the metrics. How are you measuring how this customer is feeling at the specific stage? So you have leads coming in, those will be at the awareness stage. You have acquisition cost when people are thinking about consideration. The number of deals closed, for example, tell you about the decision. Realization of value, you can understand your user demographics through this. And then finally, you can ask people for a score, a CSAT, you can see your unsubscribe rate to understand retention. So you have KPIs, you have touch points, you have opportunities. These three are like the most important. Next one is barriers. From these barriers, think about the biggest barrier that you see these people facing today. So for example, we highlighted this one, that people have no like understanding of the product and they don't know our pricing, how it works. And these are the metrics that we use to compare, like these are the metrics that we use to understand that this is the biggest pain point. Once we had this, we started focusing. We're only looking at one specific customer, which was our health freak millennial, and then their lack of product knowledge. And our first sales strategy to walk through and through was to increase this product knowledge, improve our product demo, have people go out and actually do an assisted walkthrough of the product, go door to door and kind of try to sell the service, and but focusing on the demo. So this really helps you build that strategy in a focused manner, because you know who you're selling to and what kind of problems they're facing that you're trying to address. So far, any questions? Does that make sense what we're talking about? And I'm hoping I can see the chat. Okay, we'll continue, but in case you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. Once you have the market, to truly crack the code and win sales, you need to dive deeper into the market segmentation, attractiveness, and positioning. What does that mean? You know your customer, but your customer could even belong to different markets depending on their physiographic lifestyle, their demographic, or their geographic factors. They might be rich, they might be old, they might be young, they might be convenient focused, they might be cost sensitive. So all those sort of segmentation, like find the ideal market that you're catering to. This is again what we discussed, like a home farmer versus health freak millennial. So we segmented the market to health freak millennial who's of this age doing these kind of things. You have the market segmentation here. Next, try to understand the attractiveness of your market. Like from these smaller groups that you have identified, you've picked one that you will be addressing first. From this market, consider the attractiveness of this market. Like, should I be going after this market or the other market? To do so, you can consider factors like the size of the market. How many millennials are there out in London? What is a trend that is impacting? So if I am a copywriter and I see AI coming up, so how do I work through the trends? Like, is it going to negatively impact my work or positively impact my work? Be aware of those trends. What's the growth rate? Like, are old people increasing in London more versus young people? Are farmers increasing more versus I don't know, like IT jobs, stuff like that. Demand events, like what demand events are kind of triggering people in your selected market to actually buy your product. There could be, a friend tells you that, hey, you need to start eating healthy. Like, what are those triggers? Or you search for something, or you read a blog, or you watch a video, you go to the gym. What are those triggers that make people think about your product, and how the market that you've selected is impacted by these demand events? The other important thing is accessibility. Like, if you live in an area where you can easily access farmers, then probably the other sector is more accessible to you and easier win for you. So it's also important for it to be accessible and easy to address for you. And finally, the entry barriers. So to enter in here, what is the switching cost? What are they doing today? And would they be willing to switch to your product from what they have today? Is going to help you understand the market better and its attractiveness, and make a selection of which kind of market to pick. Finally, market positioning. That helps you determine the importance of your product, like the service that you're offering. How important is that for the selected market? How much competition do you have in this selected range? And are people aware of your product? Are people aware of your service? Once you have selected a market, you draw market attractiveness on one axis and market positioning on the other axis, and you get a graph something like this. So you have market attractiveness, you have your market positioning, and this is something I copied from McKinsey. It's a GE McKinsey matrix. What this tells you is if industry is really attractive, like the market you've selected is really attractive, and you have less competition and people are willing to buy, and it's accessible, then you are in this category and you grow and invest in your market. But if there's a lot of competition and the attractiveness is low, then you dilute your assets and you don't, like, you just either keep what you have, harvest it, or you dilute and divest. If it's all in the middle, like the same amount of attractiveness versus the amount of competition that you have, then don't do anything. Just maintain the status quo and stay there. The TLDR, the takeaway from here is once you've selected the market, like you've segmented the market into different sections, how do you pick which one to move for? You value the attractiveness in positioning. Your ideal market would be one which is most attractive, and your product is best positioned to, kind of convert audience there. So that's kind of like a small page from the book of strategic marketing and how you influence your sales strategy to attract more customers. Any questions on this before we move further? Actually, we'll keep the questions for later. I'll let you guys absorb and ask me questions later. Like, keep taking notes. If you feel even any of the slides was not clear, we can come back to it. And finally, like, once you know the ideal customer profile, the segment you're trying to target, and the pain points you wish to address, now you focus your energy on delivering unique value, the value that helps you stand out from the competition. So we're assuming that you have identified all this and you have a great product to offer to this customer set. Now, make sure that you're conveying this value in a digestible format to your potential customer. So how can you do this? You leverage digital channels to appeal to a global audience. It's possible that you might need to like also go locally, like some of the services, you go in, you paste your pamphlet, you hand it over. But I've found like the best way to scale so far has been leveraging digital channels to convey your value prop to your ideal customer. So, if you're offering I don't know, a music service, you go in and type on Google like music services in my town, and whatever top results come up, the blogs that come up from analysts who are talking about music services or comparing to music services, just reach them out and tell them about your product and ask them to review your product. So you get better SEO ranking, you get better ranking on Google. Make sure your digital presence is kind of linked throughout, and people are easily able to see your local business on Google and find you easily there. Try to rank for keywords that your customers are searching for today to look for your competition. Make sure that your social media highlights your unique value proposition and you're talking directly to your ideal customer profile on your social media. Like, whatever content that you are building should be addressing the needs of the customer that you have identified. All of the research that you've done so far will be essential to build this image and story that you can convey through these digital channels, and this will help you build that story for your brand and cater for the people who are most interested in buying your product. So with that, you will be able to completely convey your value. The other most important thing that really works for B2B is networking. And in fact, this is one aspect that helps B2B stand out from B2C. You should not always be relying on trying to close the deal as soon as you meet someone. In B2B, relationships matter even more. Like, it takes multiple meetings to convert a client. I've worked in B2B for 5 years, and never have I in first meeting converted a client or convinced a client to buy a product. And minded, the product that I was working for was a unicorn. Like, they are a global leader, and even then, it's such a hard time to convince even a startup to buy something. But what really works is relationships. Like, you go out, you talk to them, you take multiple meetings, and keep that patience within. You need to understand the difference between a customer and a user. The one who's actually going to be paying for your services might not be the same person who's using it. Like, sometimes you're building something for kids and it's their parents who are actually a buyer or your customer, but the user is the baby, and you're trying to convince the parent to buy the service. Or you might be selling a digital service or SaaS service to a company, and the actual buyer, the person who's going to pay the bill, is the CFO or the finance team, and you're selling it to the marketing team or selling it to, I don't know, the engineering team. So the customer and the user is going to be different, and you need to build that relationship with the user of your product so that they become loyal champions and they convince the other person, the person who's responsible, the influencer, the person who's going to be paying the bills to buy your product. The other good part about like relationship building and spending time and energy in that is as a user moves from one firm to the other, of course, like the kids won't move from one parent to the other, but like if the user, the engineer or the marketer moves from one company to the other, they will take that loyalty about your product to the next client, and word of mouth will make sure that your product grows without you even having to do something. So that's why invest on relationships, invest on networking, attending conferences, finding clients, talking to people who you seem are interested, and not trying to sell them in the first go, just talking and hearing them out and really gaining their trust could go a long way in building organic sales for your product. With this, we're now going to come to goals. Like, okay, we have done everything, and thankfully the product is starting to sell, and now we want to set goals for ourselves. How do we decide what kind of sales goals to be set, and how do we make sure that we're following through to them, like we're completing them? So we like to call it smart sales goals, as in you need to set up specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. What that means is your goals should be clear and precise. The person who's selling, like let's say you're consulting an agency and trying to sell it through them, affiliate marketing, it should be very clear what the goal of this marketing project is, or the goal for this agency is, or that salesperson, or for even yourself, what those goals are. They should be very clear. They shouldn't be confusing, and they should be very precise. Okay, 10 products sold in this district to 35-year to 45-year-old people. Like, they should be very precise. Second, they should be measurable. You should know when to change your strategy, change your market, when to change your customer. And for that, you need to track progress of your sales and evaluate what success means. So keep in mind those KPIs and make sure your goals are measurable. Third important thing that we often forget is making those goals really realistic and achievable. If you're setting up goals that are too high, you're trying to convert 10% of the London population to your product, it's just unattainable, and it could actually lower down your morale and not like, just discourage you from pursuing them further. So make sure that your goals are really realistic and achievable, but they also, like, we will come back to it, to create that sense of urgency, like they're time bound. So in this short period of time, I want to achieve this short goal, is something that will keep you self-motivated and your sales team focused on converting deals, instead of getting distracted that, hey, this is too impossible, or hey, I have a lot of time, I'll do it later. And finally, your goals should be relevant. Like, they should align with your broader business objective. If your objective is that eventually I will get online completely from my store, then your sales goal should be, okay, convert 100 people, 50 of them should be in store, but 50 online. Make them fill up this survey form, and 75 of them should fill this form on their phone. So keep in mind your overall business objective, where you want to go, what's your vision for the future like, and keep your sales goals relevant to those. This is a wrap for the session today. We're almost at time as well. I do have a list of free tools and templates. I realized that I could not share the links here directly, so I will share my LinkedIn. If you guys are interested, I'll send you a list, like HubSpot, Zoho, Bittrex, all of them are available for free. Woodpecker, Trello. I'll also include a small snippet on what that tool does. So if you're looking for those, you can do help. I'll also send some templates, like the customer journey map, so you can fill that in for your product, or the market attractiveness matrix, so you can try to supplement your research. And again, as Karen said, I'll be happy to like take one-on-one sessions if you're interested. I've included my LinkedIn here. There's also like a QR code you can scan to find me, or you can type in Priyanshi-Gupta on LinkedIn and you'll be able to connect with me, so that if you have like quick questions, you can reach